everyone, I'm back again. My pizza dough has risen, and now I'm starting to do my toppings for my pizza. And in this skillet, I have just regular sausage, and all it has in it, which I make sure of, is just some salt, and it says spices, but really it's just pretty bland pork. Or you can get sausage that has been ground by the meat department and they don't add anything to it. And so what I do is I start browning it with about 2 tablespoons of oil, and I've got it probably on medium high. To that, I'm going to start adding some salt, probably not more than 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon is about what I'm putting in. Then I'm going to add some black pepper, and you just shake in as much as you think you'd want in it. Then I mix that in really well. And to that, and I keep breaking up the meat into smaller and smaller pieces. I like mine pretty crispy. I don't like it just chunks of meat. So I cook it a little while. Now I'm adding Italian seasoning, which this one here, it just has marjoram, oregano, thyme, rosemary, savory, basil, and sage. So you're not getting any corn products in that whatsoever. So I put in about 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons. And then I'm going to add just a tiny bit of red pepper flakes. That's probably about 1/4 teaspoon to 1/8. And I sprinkle that in because we like our meat a little bit savory and spicy. So I let that cook. And I'm going to turn it down to 4 now so it doesn't cook too fast. But I'm really starting to smell all those spices that I put in there. And so you just let that cook, and I stir it every so often. And here is the other half of my dough, and I do not spread it out as large as I'm doing a pizza. I want it to be bread. So I spread it out just about 3/4 of the way around in the pan, and then I spread it with softened butter. And to that, I'm going to add my garlic, and I just sprinkle it on pretty generous. Don't know if you can see that there. And then I start sprinkling on my mozzarella, and I don't do a whole lot, just a little. I want enough on there that I know there's cheese, but I don't want too much that it's just big hunks of cheese when you go and cut it. Now on top of that, cheese there, I'm going to sprinkle shredded Parmesan. It just seems to really make the bread. And I sprinkle that on. And I like to get this going in the oven at 450 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in so that it'll be done before the pizza is. And I'm going to set my timer for 15. And then now I'm going to continue stirring my meat. I don't stir it constantly, but because I want it to get done. One thing I cannot stand is half-done pork. I just will not do it. And that's why I end up making it a little crispy, because I want to be sure that my pork is done. Okay, we're going to leave that for another couple of minutes. And what I'm going to show you now, this particular pizza sauce is excellent. There is absolutely no corn products in it whatsoever. When you read the ingredients, I get the traditional pizza sauce from Classico, and when you read it, it has tomato puree, water, tomato paste, diced tomatoes, tomato juice, sugar, olive oil, salt, and spices, available garlic, I think it says garlic powder, or available garlic, granulated garlic, I'm sorry. And that's it. It's all natural, no corn products, and it's great to use. Because as I said before, when you're working or going into a restaurant and you order something they have, you don't know what's in their products. And because they're usually bought in bulk, generally everything they have has corn in it somewhere. So I make mine here at home. My husband loves it. And he doesn't miss not going to the restaurants just as I don't. So I'm going to take my sauce. I've got my dough, as you can see, ready. And before I put the sauce on, if you notice, I've got little holes pierced in it with a fork. And the reason I do that is because I bake this for about 5 minutes before I put the toppings on. And in doing so, it helps me to get a crisper crust on the bottom, especially in the middle. And if you don't pierce the dough, I will tell you right now, it'll just rise right up like a big ball. So you have to make sure that when you put it on there, you pierce it. So now I'm going to stick that in for 5 minutes at 450. Get that timer going. Okay. And then as soon as that's done, we will put this beautiful sauce on there, then get some cheeses and the meat and toss it in the oven for about 15 minutes. And then you've got dinner. So you can make this dough in the morning, come home in the afternoon, make up your pizza, do your meats. You're ready to go for supper. So I enjoy doing this, and I want to be sure and share it with you because there's so many of us that can't enjoy these simple things when we go out. So if we can do it at home, why bother going out? Saves you a lot more money too. So this is getting to where I want it. And because my stove tends to cook when I turn it off, I'm going to cook it for a couple more minutes and then turn it off, and then it'll finish it as it's sitting there. But this is a wonderful way to make something special for those you love or just for yourself. So I'm going to halt right now, and then I'll be back as soon as the dough is ready and get it put together. Okay guys, I'm back, and our cheesy bread is all done. And take a look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And it tastes yummy too. And like I said, you don't waste anything when you make this pizza dough. You use half of it for your pizza and the other half to make this beautiful bread. So now I've got my sauce on my pizza pan, and it has baked for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to start putting my mozzarella cheese all over it, and then I'll add some Parmesan on top of that. I don't do too much Parmesan, even though I love it, but if you use too much, then the cheese, when it melts, gets real hard. So I just use just enough for me to know that it's there, and it's your preference how you like it. But once I get this part all done and the meat on, it'll go in the oven for 15 minutes, and then you'll have dinner already. And you've got your cheesy bread, so you can sit and snack on that till your pizza's ready, and you're good. Now, I gotta put my meat on, and I like to use a strainer spoon so that any grease that's on it comes off into the pan where I cooked it. So I try to spread it out pretty good. Sometimes I end up using my fingers because by the time I get it onto the pizza, it's not real hot anymore, so I don't get burned by the grease from it. But this is so yummy with all those little spices I added. Oh my. This is better than any that you could get in a restaurant, I'll just tell you. Okay, so there we go. It's all ready to go in. I'm going to stick it in the oven. 450 degrees. And I'm setting my timer for 15 minutes. That is all it takes to bake this beautiful pizza. And then I'll be back and show you what this result was. Okay, my timer just went off. And we're going to pull this pizza out of here. Let me grab my pot holders. And take a look at that beautiful, beautiful pizza. It's baked exactly the way I wanted it to come out. And as I said before, this is at 450 degrees. When I do my dough, I make sure I oil the pan. You can use shortening, but because it's vegetable, I'm not sure where it comes from. I generally use lard, or you can use vegetable or canola oil, but it's up to you. I find the lard makes it easier to spread the dough. And so now I'm going to cut this beautiful thing right into the middle. If I don't burn myself first, which I'm really bad about that. And you can use a pizza roller, but I just use my large knife. And I'm going to get a piece of this in a plate just so you can see how wonderful it is. Ooh, yummy. That is good. And there you go. Our beautiful, beautiful homemade pizza from scratch that is absolutely and totally corn-free. So until next time, guys, take care and have a good weekend. Bye.